Right, we should start.
All I can hear is I don't know where these screams are going. Are they inside my own head? What's going on?
Hello everybody and welcome back to another Spacemen From Pluto podcast. I'm your host today, Kristian, and joining me as usual is...
Ben.
Dan.
And James.
Wonderful.
Hi guys.
I'm actually surprised that Ben didn't do anything like over the top, super zealous.
I don't risk it with the internet I'm working with. Trying to stay nice and relaxed and
just staying perfectly still.
yeah, to the point. Don't move.
That's annoying, isn't it? That's going to annoy me. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, I know, Danny, but we're like 8 podcasts in. We can't get rid of Ben now.
Oh. Come on. Come on, man.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, with WandaVision being out, well, it'll be
Today?
today as you're watching
bloody
this. So yeah, with the release of WandaVision, we've decided to focus today on other film spin-off TV shows and talk about the best ones that we've found in our experiences.
Wait, did anyone else hear that?
Hear what?
It sounded an awful lot like the person watching this remembering to like the video and subscribe to the channel with notifications on.
Oh
I
my!
hate this guy.
Actually, can you unsubscribe? Just go ahead and unsubscribe.
I might
Yeah,
walk, man. I might go.
Yeah. Okay. Right, and thanks for joining us. like with last week, we're not gonna bore you with what we've been watching because unless it's important, we'll mention it at some point. But yeah, we'll just go straight into the main topic. So, who would like to start?
Go on, you do it, Kristian.
Go on, host.
Take us away, host.
Okay. So, when I was looking at TV show spin-offs of popular films, the best ones I could see are all kids shows. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to start with something that some people might remember, other people might not. Men in Black, the animated series.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this being a thing.
Very
Yes.
vague.
I remember loving that TV show as a kid. Like, I actually went out of my way to try and find DVD copies now, and you can't find them anywhere.
Why not?
I don't know.
see that.
It's been like erased from time. It's
How
ridiculous.
I didn't even know this thing existed. I don't remember seeing it.
I can't remember what year it came out now. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, it got 4 seasons.
Yeah, it was like... Well, it will have been the 90s, won't it? Because it followed shortly after the films.
I can't remember. I think it came between Men in Black 1 and 2, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Don't hold me to that. It might have come after Men in Black 2.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it. I feel like I was aware that it was a thing, but I never really...
I've
watched
seen
it, 'cause I was
clips of
late
it.
to the Men in
I think
Black
it
films.
looks really
Oh.
fun. Like it's got like a
Yeah,
really
it's-
unique style, and like the
Yeah.
aliens look really fun.
It's like I remember watching it as a kid, and I have found episodes like online on YouTube and stuff since, where I've watched it back and I've been like, man, they sound nothing like Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, but it's still like it's still a fun TV show. It properly expands on like the Men in Black stories and gives them a bit more adventures.
But I swear I remember hearing something about like it isn't set in the same world as the films, because at one point isn't there a line where like Agent K and J are like, oh, did you hear they're making a film about us? Yeah, they got Will Smith to play you. Like, I'm sure there's at some point they reference the films.
Yeah,
Oh my
they
God.
do that sort of a couple of times. They like break the fourth wall, and
Love it.
Oh, that's interesting.
the films are films within the within the universe of the
Why
show.
not?
It's
Why
it's
not?
super unusual.
That's weird.
One of the best things that I remember vividly about the show is the theme tune. If anyone gets a chance, they should definitely go and look up Men in Black the series opening theme tune. I think they use the same backing sample as the Will Smith song from the first film.
They put a bit
for
of
the
a
theme
cheeky
tune.
spin on it.
Yeah.
What's your favourite Men in Black film, Kristian?
My favourite, first one.
International, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
obviously
Jesus
International, the one that has nothing to do with any of the
Even
others,
I
barely.
didn't see that film.
Does anyone not? Does anyone like? Yeah. Is anyone's favourite not the first one? Like really?
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
of all those films? Surely.
I mean, I
Wait, is that-
really
I thought
like Men in Black 2,
Yeah, it's good. It's pretty good.
but
Not better than the first one.
it's
No,
not
it's
better
not
than the
better
first one.
But it's one of those that maybe they shouldn't have made any sequels. You know, maybe they should have just left it.
It's almost like they really tied off the first one with a nice ending that didn't open up for a sequel.
Yeah, like with our Ghostbusters 2 reaction, if anyone's not seen it, you should go watch that.
Link in
Ghostbusters
description.
2, Timeless Our Trash.
A lot of people haven't seen it. Huh?
But yeah, if you've not seen it, go watch it. But yeah, like with Ghostbusters 2, I did watch Men in Black 1 and 2 back to back recently, and Men in Black 2 is just Men in Black 1 told again in a different way.
But
It's
instead,
just
Jay is teaching K instead of K
Yeah.
teaching Jay.
Because at the end of the first film, of course, K is like, oh, I'm going to go back to normal life. And then has to be brought back. I mean, the best joke in the second one is the Balchinian.
I thought that was the third
Oh,
one.
that's the second one, isn't it?
That's the second one.
Aye.
The second one's
Maybe the second one's not that great.
The second one's is it Lara Flynn Boyle? Is that her name? Donna from Twin Peaks, and it's Wayne's ex-girlfriend.
Is that
isn't it?
her? Oh, I didn't twig.
Yeah.
I think it's
it
Donna.
is.
Yeah, and
I
it's
think it is.
thingy's got. What was her name in Wayne's World? Oh no!
Oh.
It's not
Ben-
Cindy, is it?
Yeah, something like that. I love the first Men in Black film though. I went to see it 3 times at the cinema.
Oh my
believe it
God.
or not.
Oh, man.
It's
so
one of
good.
those when I was.
How old were you?
37. No.
You don't have to answer it.
No, I'm trying to remember how old I was. Pretty young, like 10 or something like that, I think. Young. Yeah, I think it was about 9 or 10. But yeah, I loved it. It was great. I just couldn't believe how good it was, quite frankly.
Yeah,
Was it original at the time? Like, it's pretty original. Like
The concept of the Men in Black
That's
is,
what I mean.
is a thing that exists. I think it was a comic, and it was also
it was
based
a
on, like,
comic, yeah.
it's based on a sort of conspiracy theory type urban legend kind of thing that Men in
Yeah.
Black
In
would
fact-
come and delete your memories and stuff.
Yeah.
In
If you'd
fact,
seen a UFO.
the Men in Black comic, I'm pretty sure, is a Marvel comic. So, Men in Black
Explains why it's
MCU.
so great.
It's all connected.
Because they're meant to really exist, aren't they? You know, like the Men in Black are meant
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like be
But the
just.
Secret Service and stuff.
It's meant to be like a rung of some secret. Yeah, it's like the Secret Service. If you see a UFO or something, or have a connection with some sort of alien or UFO event, they'll come round to your
Yeah.
house and sort of delete your memories.
Yeah.
and then go back to the CIA or whatever,
No,
or the FBI.
But yeah, no, the Men in Black like spin-off series it's like really good for a kids show, and like with probably a lot of the other shows that we're going to talk about, there's sort of room for them to expand the lore
Yeah, all
of
the
the
other
Men in
agents
Black
and stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like Men in Black was ripe for some like fleshing out in a TV show, so you get to see all the different cases, all the different aliens that they meet, and like you said,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you can start whacking in new agents and that.
Yeah, and more Frank the Pug, because that was a necessity.
And more the worms. Are they called the
Yes.
worms?
Oh yeah.
The worms that drink a lot of coffee and play Twister. Yeah, if you've not seen the Men in Black series, like at least go look up the theme, try and find clips from the episodes, because like they are.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a very fun TV
It's got a nice
show.
style to it.
Yeah, like it's definitely in that time of sort of cheap 90s animation, where the animation can get a bit clunky, especially as the later seasons go on. You can tell that they were like slowly pulling the plug on it. But yeah, it's still stands up as being like a fun sort of expansion of the universe.
He wants to go next. I'm not the host.
Yeah. I was gonna say, who wants to go next?
I can go next just because mine's in quite a similar vein to yours, Kristian, in that I found the same thing that you did when I was looking at which films have had TV shows off. Kids shows seems to get them a lot more than adult shows. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Lilo and Stitch, the series, was incredible back in the day. Like, it was so much fun. And it's really kind of bizarre because it's not like where Men in Black, you just got the film and then they spun straight off from that. We got the Lilo and Stitch film that was great, and they then made a second film that would launch the TV series to explain the whole premise of it.
Yeah, Stitch has a glitch.
No, Stitch Has a Glitch was Lilo and Stitch 2. They just released Stitch the movie, which set up the premise that, he's experiment 626, which means there's got to be 625 other experiments that Jumbo made. And then the film sets up that they're all in this big ball in these little pods that only turn them into full experiment creatures once they get wet. So at the end of the film, all of the experiment pods get launched out into Hawaii, and then one by one in the episode they get wet, they start causing havoc, and Lilo and Stitch have to rock up and be like, no, this like one that's like bouncing and causing tsunamis, you can work at the beach and make waves for surfers. And it was all about like going around and finding all the different, they called them cousins, finding them all their different purpose and giving them a catchy little nickname. And it was great. It was just, I love it because for me, I love a good, just monster of the week show. You rock up, there's a new thing, you have a little issue with it, you solve it and you move on. I like self-contained little things. Not everything needs to like span over a 20 episode arc. Like
have you watched the X-Files, James?
I've not, but it's been very recommended to me, and I think I'd love it.
Yeah.
That's it sounds like Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch.
Qui-Gon, Palpatine, Lilo,
Jar Jar Jinx.
Yes, got
Jabba.
Jar Jar Jinx. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
Ruin your flow. Go on.
No, that's all really. If you like Monster of the Week, then you probably like X-Files, James.
No,
it's literally Monster of the Week. There is a monster every week.
Yeah, I agree. The Lilo and Stitch show is really great, and of course, it spanned over several seasons. They eventually did all of the 625.
No, I don't
did
think
it only
did.
get 2? Did they
think
not do all of them?
I looked it up before this. No, I kind of always assumed they had. I looked up it got about 50 episodes.
Well, because, of course, the last episode wasn't the last episode, because they then did a third movie called Leroy and Stitch.
Phenomenal.
And
So
Leroy was Experiment 627. He was the one
Stitch,
after
but
Stitch.
better.
He was Stitch, but twice as evil.
Wow. So much lore.
There's such a great bit in like it's in the film, it's not in the series, but he's then a recurring character through all of it, where the villain Gamtu gets his hands on the Experiment 625. It's like, he's exactly like Stitch. I'll have my own Stitch. This will be great. He'll be my perfect henchman. So he activates him, and he does. He's exactly like Stitch. He has all the powers of him, all the strength and all that, but he has no bloodlust because he just wants to make sandwiches instead. That's his whole character arc.
Yeah.
Is it like a comedy show? Or is it a bit of drama? Yeah.
No, it's essentially, it's a kids' comedy show. It's a bit of fun. It's all a bit wacky.
Yeah, they do the Monster of the Week thing, but of course there's all the side characters, like Jumbo and Pleakley are always getting into hijinks, and there's just a lot of... There's a lot of kids' show, but it's still like a fun...
Yeah, it's just
that horrible episode where Jumbo got murdered, though. That was awful, man.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they ended that Lilo and Stitch show, and then they were like, well, Stitch has done a bunch of the experiments now. He's kind of run his course with Lilo. I know, we'll do another TV show spin-off of that TV show called Stitch, where we'll send Stitch to Japan, draw him in an anime style, and hook him up with his new owner, Yuna.
I do not remember this.
This was not that long ago.
Kristian could just be chatting utter drivel. Like, I'll believe that.
How is this in your
mind?
It was incredible.
It was Disney trying to break into the anime market when anime was getting popular.
My God.
And they used Stitch as the forefront of that.
I see.
It's very weird. I don't think it ran very long, to be honest. I just remember.
Google says that it got 8 seasons.
8 seasons?
Yeah, IMDb. It ran from 2008 to 2015.
Wow.
That is insane. How have I never heard of this? Well, I know what I'm doing with my evening.
What am I watching?
Booting up Disney Plus. Stitch.
Do you reckon it is on...
I mean, if it got
Disney
8
Plus.
seasons, I reckon that it might be.
Oh, I'm checking this now. Pause the podcast.
Quick pause while James quickly watches a TV show.
Yeah. While I watch 8 seasons of a TV show.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the next one then?
Go on then.
Yeah. Who wants to go next? Go on.
Well, I'll go next.
Yeah, go on.
So mine was it's a film that was created from a television series, and it was done as a result of, I think, some kind of fan petition or fan backlash, because the TV series was cancelled before its time. Does Ben know? I feel like Ben knows. Yeah. So I'm going to go for Serenity, which was a spin-off of Firefly. Firefly's probably still one of my favourite TV shows. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's sort of, I think it's one of my favourite shows because of the amount of unrealised potential there with that show. Like, I loved the universe of it. I loved the whole setup. The characters were great. It was a really intriguing story. Everything was like poised to be like a really kind of classic sci-fi TV show. You had Josh Whedon at the helm of it all, building on his, reputation from Buffy. Similar style of humour and writing. It was really good. And then they cancelled it after the second season. It was like, what the hell? Like, mid-story, it was cancelled. And
after the first season.
I was going to say, I thought it only got one season.
Yeah, it got one.
No, wait. Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, it was just
Only
one
got, like,
season. I'm
13
thinking
episodes.
I'm thinking it was divided into two for some reason. But
No,
no, it was
one
only
season.
It was only 13 episodes. Yeah, that's right. Which, when they were originally aired, were actually aired out of order, which is bizarre.
Yeah,
to
they
me.
burnt that show from the get-go.
Yeah,
it
it
got
was
cancelled.
It got a real bad deal from the network that it was broadcasting. I think it's Fox or some derivative of Fox, branch of Fox. Yeah.
Why was it aired out of order?
I'm honestly not totally sure. It must have made sense to
because Fox treat their TV shows poorly.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's why nobody watched it, because it was out of order,
Yeah,
and so
I
it
mean,
got cancelled.
The ratings weren't great for it because one of the reasons was it was aired out of order, which is an inexplicable decision, really. But it happened the way it did, and was eventually cancelled. It got like a cult following when it came out on DVD, though. People were able to watch the episodes as intended and everything, and it got a bit of a cult following because of that. And then people said, no, we can't, we need to finish off this story. And that's where Serenity came in. And while obviously, like, I would have loved to see the story play out as a TV show and actually be more nuanced and go into detail, I think Serenity did an pretty decent job of like tying everything up, and it's better than nothing as well. It's better than just the story being left.
It's better than leaving it on like a cliffhanger, because some shows get cancelled, they're left on a cliffhanger, and then you never get to find out what happens next. It was nice that they were able to sort of at least tie up the loose ends and give it a definitive ending.
Yeah, because I've never seen Firefly or Serenity, but I think I've heard that isn't that the kind of point behind Serenity is they didn't know if they were going to get more seasons. They didn't want to go like, we'll carry on with the seasons and then get cancelled again. So they went, look, we're just going to make a film, tie up loose ends and be done, so that we don't leave you on the edge again.
I think what happened is that the TV show was just cancelled. They just completely pulled the rug out from under the whole thing. There wasn't even a question of there being further episodes, and it wasn't until like there was obvious profit to be made from releasing a film that then the film was given a go-ahead. So it worked well for the studios, and it worked well for the fans, and we got the film that we got in the end. But yeah, as far as new episodes, I don't think it was ever on the table, really. Although now there is rumours of a Firefly revival, and I think I could see that happening. I don't know exactly how they do it, but because you'd need to involve Nathan Fillion, I think you'd kind of, unless they want to completely reboot it.
I was going to say, I think that Disney would bring back Nathan Fillion. I don't know whether they'd retcon Serenity.
No, I think they'd just do a new crew, and maybe Nathan Fillion pops up in it.
Yeah.
I'd move forward.
That seems to be the kind of trend now with like old revivals.
Yeah.
Bring back the favourite character and then
have them pop up in little roles like. Well, we can't say too much because spoilers for where characters end up for James. But some people could return, some might not for whatever reason. But it's. I'd be happy. I enjoy the world The world is a bit like Star Wars. It's quite simple. It's quite used and rugged, but it's got a history to it, and you enjoy that about it. So I enjoy the world, and I'd be happy to see that again more so than just seeing Nathan Fillion again and etc.
It's a really cool mixture of space opera, Star Wars style sci-fi, and with a Han Solo type character,
it really
leading everything.
Yeah,
and westerns, yeah.
Yeah, it really baffles me that there's so many sci-fi TV shows like Firefly that do one season and then get cancelled, because it's like sci-fi is like sort of one of the best genres for doing TV shows, because you can expand and expand and expand.
Yeah.
And that, like, there's so much more there's so much potential and so much more you can do with it. And when stuff like Firefly doesn't get given the chance by whatever network they're on to flourish, it's a real shame.
It's just like, because sci-fi, especially TV, isn't what it is now, and sci-fi is like probably one of the most budget demanding genres you could do. You can't, like Downton Abbey, just go to a big house and film it. As Firefly, you've got to create sets and ships,
Yeah.
But TV now are in the gold. Like shows like The Expanse got cancelled and they've survived. It's now on Amazon and still going quite strong. I think. Like if Firefly came out now, it probably would have lived on. It would have been a success from the get-go.
For sure, yeah,
you might be right.
Because it was just a casualty of sort of the network system at the time, and we didn't have streaming services, did we? We just had sit down at a certain time and watch this television show, and whether or not people did that depended on the show succeeding or not.
Yeah,
so...
the film as well did really well taking the show and making it feel like you felt like the wider budget of the film, but they also like the Power Rangers film, they had completely different outfits, didn't they, from the show, the Mighty Morphin? But in the film, it's still their same costumes, but they're a little bit spruced up a bit. It's a little bit. The ships looks a bit better, but they still kept the original.
It still feels like it is actually those characters. Like it's not a completely
clearly
new
more
thing.
money in it. Yeah, but like the Mighty Morphin film's just like it almost doesn't. It's a whole different thing nearly.
Yeah.
Here's an example.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
quickly think of.
And also, maybe if you look back at Firefly now, I've not watched it for years. Maybe some aspects of it will be dated now, and it's very possible that some aspects of it will be dated, so it wouldn't translate over. I don't know, but the world still exists, and the idea of the world still exists. It's still cool as far as that goes. So we will see if anything comes of those reviews.
At the end of the day, it's Nathan Fillion. Just give us more Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
No matter what he's in, just slap him in.
Yeah. I'm annoyed that he keeps making cameos. Like he's like a cameo in this. Just put him in. Like he's in. I know he's in the new Suicide Squad, but he won't be in it for longer than like 5 minutes, man.
You reckon he's going to be an early kill-off?
Yeah, I think James Gunn thinks it's funny to whack him in because he was in a Guardians film as like a voice or something. Shall I talk about mine?
Go on.
Bring us on. Mine is what I've been watching. Supposedly, if we get to tie that into what we've currently been watching, my show is still ongoing. It has not finished, and I'm talking about Cobra Kai, the sequel show to The Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
A very fun show, a great continuation of the world of The Karate Kid. I think so. Like the first 2 seasons was on YouTube, which was like a bit. I don't know, bit of like almost like a bit of a death knell. Like, do you know what I mean for the show? Like no one pays for YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
But the quality of the show and the fan base has made it endure, and they put it on Netflix, I think, and it's just steamrolled. And then they commissioned more seasons of it. It's just going to get stronger and stronger. It's a great continuation of the world.
I was going to say, how does it work though? Because it's not like the Karate Kid, from what I know, has got a huge amount of lore. So how do you build a show out of that?
Yeah, so there's 3 Karate Kid films with Daniel LaRusso, which is Ralph Macchio's character, and Mr. Miyagi, and there was a 4th one with Hilary Swank. If Hilary Swank's in Cobra Kai in the end, that would be pretty amazing. Anyway, so the premise of Cobra Kai is they focus on Johnny Lawrence, who is the bully in the first film. And they make him the protagonist, and you see it from his perspective 30 years on, where he's at, and he gets the inspiration to form a new dojo and revive Cobra Kai, which was his dojo, run by his evil master, John Kreese. His sensei, evil sensei, John Kreese. And we then look back at the film and go, is Daniel LaRusso actually the villain? There's the popular fan theory. I think from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
yeah, like that gave it traction as well to bring the show back in the first place.
I was going to say it's a big thing from like Community, How I Met Your Mother, a bunch of other sitcoms have like worked the Karate Kid in and been like, but Daniel LaRusso isn't the protagonist of the story.
But the great quality of the show is it's both what they've done with Johnny and Daniel, but also the new characters, the young kids, and they're torn between, do they go with Miyagi-Do style of karate or the Cobra Kai strike first, no mercy style of karate, and how it's affecting their lives, and the parents, the adults, like Daniel and his wife being like, why are you in a karate war? This is really dumb. This is so silly. We must call the police and stop this madness. And like the great quality of the show is it takes the 80s cheese of those films and evolves it and keeps the comedy of the show. Like Johnny Lawrence is almost like a man out of time. He doesn't know what the internet is. He thinks a hashtag is called a hash brown. He doesn't know how a phone works. He doesn't know anything. So the comedy is really great, and how they've evolved the character, the usage of Daniel being like the master now, the Obi-Wan style character is really good, and John Kreese, the villain, is so gloriously villainous. He's just utterly evil, and he loves it, and it's great. I'm a bit annoyed of this trend of villains being three-dimensional. Oh, he's not really a villain from his... No, he's a bad guy. He is. He wears all black. He's the villain. And he loves being the villain. He phones up Daniel and is like, yeah, there's going to be a war, Daniel, and you can't escape it. And it's like, it's great. And like, the show does really well. They treat those three films as history, as fact, regardless of the quality of those later films. I really enjoyed the second one. Third one's not that great. They happened, and so they do really well taking bits and bobs from each film and acknowledging them. Like in the latest season, Daniel goes on a side quest and goes back to Japan, which is the setting of the second film, and he meets the characters from the second film again. I think what they're doing in the third film, there's a character called Terry Silver he's nuts in the film. He's really over the top and wild. I think they're setting up that they're going to bring him back, the nutcase villain from the third film. It's just going to be nuts. But yeah, the show's very silly but also serious, and what it does with the legacy characters, if we're going to use the Star Wars pun, is quite fun, and it's 30-minute episodes. Well paced. It's really worth the watch. You should watch those first three Karate Kid films, and then watch the show. Also, the second Jennifer from Back to the Future and the boys is in the first Karate Kid, and they're hinting that she might pop up in the show.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Karate Kid. Like one of my friends said that over lockdown he was just like, I need something new to get into. So he's like, yeah, I'll try them. So he watched the films, and then just got absolutely grabbed by Cobra Kai. Like he said, it's incredible. He watched it all in like a couple of days, and is now in that thing of like, but now I've not got any more. I need more of this to watch. Like,
and like it's a bit silly because like the way the actual like karate, like they've all like, okay, so you know in karate you get belts and you rank up, don't you?
Yeah.
And like black belt's the highest belt. In the show, with 3 seasons in, and they've all still wearing their white belts, but they can do flips and amazing kicks. And it's like they clearly, that's not the point, is it? It's not actually about. It's about the characters and the fun fights. And it, like in the second season, there's just an out-and-out karate brawl in the school, and it's ridiculous, but it's great. And where they're all it's not black and white. It's grey. You know, what line are you on? Are you good or are you evil? It's really fun. It's a good show. It's better than Star Wars. It's better than the treatment of the legacy characters is better than this YouTube show, now Netflix show, than Star Wars. Sorry guys, but it's true. That's just how bad Star Wars is.
I feel like you're gonna get some flack from that.
It's true. The treatment of Daniel LaRusso and Johnny and the characters from Karate Kid 2 and Okinawa is way better than other characters.
I don't know if it'll get that much flack, you know, because have you not heard? The Mandalorian is a raise in the sequel trilogy. It's totally happening.
Yeah, Baby Yoda's getting killed off by Kylo Ren, man. It's gonna happen.
Definitely. I do think whenever you do like a revival of like an old film series, an old TV series, it is hard to do because you don't want to just be like, oh, let's just drop back in with these characters because we've moved on from them in a little bit. But also, if you just completely do a new thing, then it's not related to the old one. Then what's the point?
Yeah,
it's a fine line, and there is a balance to it that maybe Star Wars didn't reach.
But but then other spin-off shows of films, the Clone Wars, did a great job of both expanding and making those prequels good and putting a bit of depth and nuance in Anakin especially.
The Mandalorian would be considered a spin-off of Star Wars as well.
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good show.
It's a damn good show.
That Star Wars has plenty of like spin-offs because you've got Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, Mandalorian, Forces of Destiny. There's tons that you could talk about.
Yeah.
If I'd not spoken about Lilo and Stitch, Clone Wars was going to be my other choice because it's good. There is a fair bit of filler in there, but the highs are so worth it compared to the lows.
Yeah, like Clone Wars, it's like it's a kid's. Like you've not seen it, Danny. Like it's a kid. It is for children. Like Star Wars is made for children, and like you'll have an episode where it's like C-3PO and R2 being on a silly comedy mission. But then they'll do like a 4-episode arc about slavery, and like the terrible toll it takes on a planet.
It certainly sounds interesting, but I mean, I could just never get past. Like, I did watch a couple of episodes, but I just thought it's just not. Like, I really appreciate the fact that like it's interesting that it is a kid show and it looks into those strange kind of like it looks into slavery, and, like and it looks
war
into
crimes and things.
Yeah,
like that
exactly. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely like obviously a nuanced plot there, isn't there? Which is definitely a good thing, especially considering it is primarily designed for children. The story's still solid, which I think that's what brings people to it. But yeah,
I would say if you like Star Wars, but you are a little bit put off about there being some filler and it being a bit of a kids show, do some research into some of the story arcs and just watch them as isolated things because there's some really good standalone little bits that you can watch and just enjoy.
It's weird though because like Clone Wars is so big and there's so much filler. I just wouldn't call it filler. I just like it's fun little. You've got so much of the big stuff, the wider Clone Wars and the ongoing plot of Palpatine and all this the Separatists or whatever. Just to have a fun little couple missions where we get to watch some Padawans get their crystals.
I wouldn't call that filler though, because I think that's a good story. I'm more on about like.
Well, it doesn't add anything though. These Padawans we're never going to see again. Well, no, that might add. Does that tie into big stuff? But you know what I mean? Like,
no, I do get what you mean.
A one-off episode watching R2 versus Boba Fett. It's really fun.
That one's okay. I'm more thinking like there's one where like a bunch of droids go on a mission. I was like, I don't care. These characters aren't good, and I'm not enjoying it. And then early on, there's a whole episode that follows Padme and Jar Jar Binks going on a side mission, and Jar Jar Binks accidentally looks like a Sith. I'm like, stop teasing me. Just give me Darth Jar Jar, or don't.
Like the Clone Wars, because they had so much space now in hindsight. They experimented, didn't they?
Yeah.
What if we did try just an all droid mission? What would that look like? And I'm glad that in that specific example we know what that looks like, because I don't have to sit there and wonder. And it's George's favourite arc, which is pretty funny. I think he's a troll. I think George trolls.
Oh yeah,
man.
I think he's leaning into it a bit. Yeah.
I think he's such a troll. The McClunky thing is trolling. I was watching talking of Twin Peaks off camera. There's bits in that Return series. I was like, I think Lynch is trolling, man. I don't know if
I love it. I love shit like that.
Some of it's like, I don't know, David, you're taking the piss here. Like, I just think he just thinks it's funny and it doesn't care about a wider story. I can't, James. Down the line, you need to watch Twin Peaks. I don't know what you're going to make
watch
of
it at some point.
I don't know what you'd make of it.
There's a film there that's based off a TV show. The Fat Fire Walk with Me is a film based off a TV show.
It's a prequel as well.
That was actually that was actually booed at Cannes, wasn't it? Because it was it was so distinct in the tone. For the TV show had a very distinct tone, and then Fire Walk with Me was just pure David Lynch. Either you love it or hate it, and a lot of it's kind of like Ben said, is he trolling here? It's like, but yeah, you should watch Twin Peaks. Though.
Like especially in the Return, you've got to like. Because the whole show, I need to watch it again because the first time I found it quite stressful because there's plot that I wanted to happen that just is not happening. It's just we're going to watch Kyle MacLachlan just drink a lot of coffee and walk around, and you're gonna have to accept it. So you've got to.
But the thing is, though, that's probably what you mean by trolling, because that felt like he was trolling the way he stretched out that plot line so long, and he will have known. Obviously, everyone wanted that storyline to go a certain way as quickly as possible, and it just didn't. But and then in the end, you just accepted that Dougie Jones was actually all right, and let's just enjoy the character of Dougie Jones. I miss Dougie. I miss him. I miss him.
I miss him. It'd be great to have if we can get James and Kristian watching it, to have a big chat about Twin Peaks would be pretty. James especially. I don't know how you'd. I just don't know. It'd be great.
Okay.
Is there any other honourable mentions you quickly want to blast?
Can I talk about a quick one, super quick?
Yeah.
Before the end, I'm surprised you didn't talk about it, Kristian. I'm surprised you didn't bring up Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's on my list. I've got a list of ones that I was just going to throw out there quickly, and this was one of them.
Ash versus Evil Dead is a really fun show, James. I think
it was a show. I thought it was a film.
Yeah, it's a sequel show of three seasons following Ash and some new characters stopping the Deadites, the Evil Dead once and for all.
Cancelled.
And
did it get cancelled?
Every season, they wrap up every season on the impression that it will be the end of the show, because it was one of them. It was a blessing to get a second season, let alone a third. So
I'm annoyed because they were ramping up to doing another film, and then after it got cancelled, Bruce Campbell turned around and went, "This will be the last time I play Ash in anything live action. I'm not doing the character anymore. I'm retiring the character." And I was like, "No, I want to see more."
The show's really fun. It's a very silly show, but also incredibly gory. One scene in a morgue is outrageous. It was still one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. A certain scene with Ash in a morgue. It's a great show, really worth the watch. After watching The Evil Dead, you need to finish Army of Darkness.
I was about to say I've seen the first two. I need to watch Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness.
Yeah, you're gonna like Army of Darkness, I think.
Army of Darkness is the one it most directly kind of follows on from.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of in Army of Darkness, James, Ash becomes. It's not a spoiler. Ash becomes the hero kind of deal, and then they realise that's not really the point of Ash. He's an idiot. He's the literal anti-hero. And in the show, they do everything they can to have Ash not acknowledge the plot and not being he literally he'll run away from the evil because he can't be bothered with it, because he's just not a great hero. He's
just a guy.
Well, he's just a bloke who wants to drink beer.
It's weird because it kind of follows on from Army of Darkness, but also kind of follows on from a film he did much later called My Name Is Bruce, where Bruce Campbell just played himself, and ends up he's washed out, living off the glory of the Evil Dead franchise, and then ends up fighting zombies and the undead in real life. It's a great film. I mean, just go through Bruce Campbell's back catalogue, because he wants to do another. Now that he's done with Ash, he wants to do another My Name Is Bruce. He wants to do a sequel to Bubba Hotep with vampires.
And so just to wrap it up super quick, James, if we watch Army of Darkness, and Ash vs Evil Dead is on Netflix.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So
nice
that
easy.
Whenever people recommend me a show, that's almost always one of my first questions. But is it on a streaming service?
Yeah,
it is.
I picked them because they are available to watch. Unlike Men in Black, which is deleted. It's
it doesn't exist.
Hopefully, we'll find a DVD. Have to buy it.
I'm going to carry on searching, and there's a few others that I've got on this list that it's really hard to find any sort of. Apart from random YouTube videos, there's very little that you
They've
can
done their
try
best to
and watch
neuralise the whole show from everyone's memory.
So I'll quickly throw a few out there. The Mummy animated series, based on the Brendan Fraser films, great series. Of course, The Pink Panther, the TV show, used to be on Cartoon Network. That was a spin-off of the films.
It actually was the Pink Panther as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a literal Pink Panther. The real Ghostbusters.
I don't know why I found that so funny. It's got a funny concept.
Yeah.
I feel like the Ghostbusters was ripe for a series where they just, more cases. Same with Men in Black. When you set up, there are these people that spend their job is to deal with these monsters or these ghosts. Like, let's see that. I don't want to see just one big case. I want to see some of the smaller ones.
I still vividly remember one episode of The Real Ghostbusters where they go into the Bermuda Triangle.
Of course they do.
Anyway, so, we've talked long enough about great spin-offs of films or TV shows that we've watched and loved. Now we're going to, for the dessert, we're going to pose a hypothetical. Is there a film and or possibly TV show that you think would be ripe for having a spin-off TV series? So who would like to go first?
You can start if you want. Go on. You went first in the main. Go first in the dessert.
Host.
Okay. I'll start us off. Mine is Dredd. Carl Urban's Dredd should absolutely.
Carl Urban's Dredd.
Yes.
Okay.
Should absolutely have a spin-off and more, like just sort of a weekly episodic Dredd adventure, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
A Dredd venture.
A dreadful adventure.
Just been hit from both sides. I couldn't believe that.
I know that Carl Urban's Dredd, as far as plot goes, isn't the most original because there's obvious comparisons to The Raid, but I don't know, like Judge Dredd is such sort of a ripe character for it's like sort of a TV show interpretation, and I would love to see Carl Urban come back because he made a great Judge Dredd, but now he's too busy with The Boys and other projects that he's got going on, and Carl Urban's super famous now, so we're probably never going to get it.
What would you say warrants it a TV show instead of sequels?
This is why I wouldn't do Christians. I would do a show about the judges and not Dredd, or have Dredd maybe looming over it. And I also wouldn't do his universe because the Judge Dredd's lore is quite wide and expansive. It's very weird. I would do more that side than.
Well, this is the thing.
Carl Urban's.
I say I would want Carl Urban to come back as Dredd. I don't necessarily think I would have him come back as the main character. I would like sort of an exploration of, the city and how the different judges deal with different things, and have some episodes focused on Dredd, other episodes focused on some of the other judges.
Yeah, like you could have a side plot of one old judge doing the long walk in the wasteland.
Yeah. I'd love to see sort of different. I'd love it as sort of kind of almost an anthology series of seeing stuff from different people's point of view in and around the city and the wastelands. Who wants to go next? Come on.
I'll go next. Mine, I am absolutely bewildered that we haven't already had, maybe even if it's not a full TV show, or if they even just did like one-off little shorts. I think there's absolutely scope to do some spin-off shows from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as in we follow each of the Spider people at the end of the film back into their universe. So we see Spider-Man Noir solving some detective cases. We see like Penny Parker, and it's a more anime style show. We see Peter Porker going back Spider-Ham, and like it's a mad cartoon. You can do some Spider-Gwen stuff, but she got a lot of time in the film, and I think she's going to get more in sequels. And I don't know how different her universe is from the main one we've seen, but I just think doing shows for each of the other Spider people, it gives you a chance to really lean into these different forms and just expand stuff a bit. I think could be a really cool idea.
You could just do like one episode, one world, and then you have the first four is whatever who was in the film, and then every other episode is a whole new different Spider-Man. What Spider-Man was a duck.
There's so many different comic iterations of Spider-Man, and there's so many. I mean, they probably skip over the really dark ones like the Man Spider, but there's still there's definitely legs to do more Spider-Man stories.
You could do the 90s Spider-Man cartoon again.
Yeah,
70s Spider-Man Japanese show. Bring that back.
What is Man Spider? I'm curious.
In the 90s cartoon, he gets turned into a giant spider.
Yeah,
so, like, he grows 4 extra arms.
A literal like Spider-Man.
That's so.
It's like in Batman. There's Man Bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did the Man Spider stuff as a comic, but the comic is like brutally dark, and I'm pretty sure it ends with him eating. It, like he succumbs to the spider side of himself and eats Mary Jane. It's like really dark. It's like a proper brutal comic.
Here's the thing: when you're a character that's been going as long as Spider-Man has, there's going to be absolute bonkers stuff. Yeah, people spin off and do all this mad shit. But yeah, I am really surprised we haven't, even if it is just like a little short, like the sort of length, like a Pixar short type thing. I'm surprised we haven't even had any of them of this kind of thing.
I think because it's Sony Animation Studios, I would say that is the main reason why. Because I think if it was Disney, then Disney would definitely have like a Disney Plus.
They're doing an I Am Groot show. They could do a Spider-Verse show. Christ.
What's your favourite of those parallel world spider?
Noir.
I was just about to say, I think Noir would be the coolest one because you can get like a proper Noir detective.
I'd probably have to agree with that. Actually,
yeah, and it's Nick Cage. It's just funny. Yeah. And it's very sort of self-aware of how ridiculous it is in the film.
But the thing is, maybe the reason why they're not doing it is because it only really works as those very small vignettes, where we don't really find out that much. They just kind of like, you can use your imagination a little bit. I don't know though. I reckon that's a good idea. I'd be up for seeing more of Noir Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that because I know that they're working on the second Spider-Verse film at the moment, but I definitely think that they are probably going to end up doing some like spin-off films where we just focus on one of the Spider-Men in their own universe.
Probably.
But I think I'm not sure, because originally the talks was they were like, oh yeah, and the next film before we do Into the Spider-Verse 2 is going to be a Spider-Ham one. We're just going to do an hour-and-a-half film. And I was like, I don't think I'd watch an hour-and-a-half film of Spider-Ham, but if they did it as a TV show, I think I would sit down and watch like 20-30-minute installments of different Spider-Men.
I definitely agree. Like, do a sort of Looney Tunes-esque cartoon show where it's all a bit wacky and you've got all these different animal versions of the Avengers and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think that could be really cool. And it's just something a bit different. I think that's the other thing now.
In the Peter Parker one, the Avengers are in it and they're all animals, but Rocket Raccoon's a human. He's the only human.
That'd be pretty cool.
Smash that.
Well done, Ben.
Thank you.
Well done, Ben. Well done.
You go next, Danny. I'd say.
I'll go next, shall I? Yeah, so I've been on a bit of over the whole of last year and the lockdown period. I went on a bit of the Stephen King kick. I've never really read any of his stuff before, and I decided to read The Stand, which was really good. I really enjoyed that. And over the same period of time, I rewatched Doctor Sleep. Currently, well, actually, I come to what I'm currently reading because it does tie in. I was initially going to say Doctor Sleep. I watched the film at the cinema, really enjoyed it, but I was left thinking that this world is a lot bigger than this one film. There seemed to be so much depth to it, and knowing Stephen King, there really is a lot of depth to it. I kind of like looked a little bit more into the book. I've not read the book, but it seems to be there's a ton of extra stuff in there. So I really kind of like the idea of a Doctor Sleep TV show that ties into The Shining. I think I mentioned that on a previous podcast, really, half joking, but I've kind of thought about it. Actually, I'm not joking.
I'm not joking. Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I'd like that as a show. It's a joke, but no, seriously, make it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great. But my actual pick is another Stephen King book that did get turned into a film, and I'm currently reading this series of books. It's The Dark Tower,
Okay.
Right.
which I've been reading that in the past maybe few weeks, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm only up to the second book so far, but I don't know, because they made a film with Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey, and it was one film, and apparently it was all 8 books. I think 7 or 8 books.
They crammed all 7 books into one film. Yeah.
Did they really? Wow.
Like
I want to watch this.
Like the first book and what I've read of the second book so far, which equates to about a tenth of it. There's enough there for at least one TV series without any filler episodes. There's so much stuff that goes on, especially in the second book where it's essentially turns into a body swap comedy. It's like
what?
Yeah, honestly, it's so weird, and like a lot of people are turned off by that aspect of Stephen King because sometimes it can be too weird and too like what was he on when he wrote this? And it's like
cocaine.
It's a cocktail of things that he was on basically. But there's a ton of stuff in the first Dark Tower book called The Gunslinger that would make a great TV show, and also I just feel like it's just going to get more and more in depth and more complex, more and more characters, more and more subplots, and I'd love to see that eventually being done justice to, like, because I feel like it definitely wasn't with the film, because the film got panned.
I was going to say, wasn't it famously shite?
Yeah.
I never even saw
understand.
it.
No, I never even saw. I've not seen it. I don't intend to
watch it.
I was going to say none of us watched it, but
none of us have seen it. We're going to have to watch it.
This is ripe for content.
I remember
I'm not watching it until I've read the book.
We're going to have another Wonder Woman rant from Danny.
Yeah, I can see something like that happening because like the Dark Tower books come very highly recommended. They're apparently meant to be incredible, and I just don't see how they possibly thought they'd get away with making it one film. It just seems bizarre.
I remember. I remember reading it, and I remember reading like reviews on it, and all of the reviews were like they tried to cram too much into the film and like really skimmed the story. That it's just like a quick overview of all 7 books, pretty much.
Yeah,
and they
said,
said
even that though, I don't get how they've done that.
No, I don't get it when they do it in films where they like, oh yeah, we'll just do the first 3 books and cram them into one. I'm like, but there's a lot in those books. I was just gonna say, like the other thing that I kept seeing a lot was I've not read that. I've read some Stephen King books, but I've not read the Dark Tower books personally. But I kept reading that Matthew McConaughey is like a massive miscast.
Oh really?
Loads of people said that he was not the right character. That he was not the right person to pick for the role that he played.
I don't know yet because I've not read the books. But so far, I actually am having like you have a picture of characters in your head that builds up over the course of reading a book. It's difficult not to see Idris Elba, as the gunslinger. It's difficult not to see Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black. But it's sort of weird because they're not written. They're obviously given their own descriptions. Like the gunslinger has like long hair and stuff, and obviously Idris Elba didn't have long hair, so it's hard to then give Idris Elba long hair, and it doesn't quite work. And it's like I'm not imagining the right person. But as far as like Matthew McConaughey goes, I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Isn't the Dark Tower? I don't know if I'm wrong, Danny. Is that the one that did start to connect his other books?
Yes.
As far as I know, yeah. I don't want to get too much into spoilers because there's some stuff that I've heard and some stuff that I haven't. I have heard that though. It starts to kind of. I don't want to actually.
You don't want to know.
It.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Say it in case you haven't even
but I know that aspect. I do know that aspect of it, but it does some really weird stuff with like his older books, his other books, and also the way sort of the narrative works in general, like the tropes of narrative and stuff. So that's it on that level. I'm really looking forward to that. And it's like, how the hell did they get that in a film? This is like probably something that's kind of like the essence of these books. And it's like, what have you actually made with the film? Like, I don't quite, But I'm not watching the film until I've read the books anyway. So.
I don't know if it's worth the watch, Dan. I think there's a show called Castle Rock, which is set in the Stephen King universe, and it connects them.
There is.
Is there?
Yeah,
I didn't know so.
It's
like
based. The first series is based on the town of Castle Rock, and sort of sets up the show. But then the second season, the main character is what's her name now? She's it's Kathy Bates' character from Misery, and it's her backstory is the crux of the second season of the show. I
Might
don't
be
know.
worth a watch, Danny.
But it is. I've been told by multiple people that it's like, if you're a Stephen King fan, it's well worth the watch because it starts linking some of his short stories and books together.
Okay,
Might be
I'll
worth
check that
checking out. Might be seems any good.
One more thing I wanted to mention very quickly, something that I'd like to see readapted, and it's kind of it doesn't really count to because it wasn't a film, but I'll very quickly mention it. I want to see them do Game of Thrones again. Do it as an do it as an animated
Literally
series.
never gonna get over this, are you?
Just do it again. No, seriously, just do it again. Once he's finally
you got it wrong. Try again.
No, seriously. Once he's finished that final book, whenever that might be, like never.
He is
probably.
never finishing that final book.
Do a nice little animated thing, an animated series. Then you
I
don't
wonder
have to
if
worry about
that's going
casting
to be
and stuff.
your future, Danny. Maybe you should be the one to step up, rally the people, and make an animated show of the book that never gets written, or redo the show.
Look at him staring off into the distance, imagining it.
Maybe you're the gunslinger that can unite the people. And
maybe I'll be reading The Dark Tower and it'll actually start mentioning me, and that's what we meant about like this book is weird. It actually starts mentioning.
That'd be well
reading
cool.
The Dark Tower.
That's
It's
the
like,
future of books. That is interactive book reading. With your actually protagonist.
They've already got that. It's called Goosebumps Choose Your Scare.
Choose your own adventure.
Shall I begin?
Go on, then. Ben, round us
go on.
off.
Close us off.
I'll close us off. Right. My show is going to be a sequel show to a film from the 80s. So, fantasy, I think, is making a bit of a comeback, right? Star Wars is kind of a fantasy, based on fantasy with the grand wizards and the knights and the princess and all that's kind of come back. Willow is coming back, which I am very happy about. I hope that turns out well. The Dark Crystal returned. I want to see a sequel show to the film Krull. Right. I know James hasn't heard of it. I know James hasn't heard of this. Have you seen it, Danny?
No, mate. No,
you haven't seen Krull? Oh, I thought you'd be into. I thought you would have.
Probably.
Krull.
How enthusiastic you are.
It's one of those post Star Wars fantasy moneymaker films that didn't do very well at all money wise, but has endured more than all the rest. I think because it's not that bad. I don't think so. I have fond memories of it, and I
watched it recently, and I can say I enjoyed it.
It's quite nuts. Super quick. My show in the film, there's a prophecy in the film saying the beast will rule. This comes to take over the galaxy, and one queen and one king will unite, and they will save the planet, and their son will rule the galaxy. So I do a show about 30 years later, after the events of the film Krull. I would do about there's a new villain, or potentially the villain from the original film is still around, and it's about their son uniting the galaxy to fight the villain. I don't know how they would do space travel, because in the film, on the planet of Krull, they have no space travel. Only the beast lands on Krull. But they've got things like, it's like high fantasy. So there's a Cyclops, there's wizards. There's a character called Ergo the Magnificent, who's like a apprentice. He could be a legacy character who's now a grandmaster. He turns himself into a tiger. There's a woman who like rules some spiders, and I think they look like glass. There's horses but they're not called horses, who can run so fast they go on fire, but can also they travel like in the sky because they can kind of fly. There's a bit where the bride, the hero and the woman, his wife, combine, and they shoot fire out of their hands to defeat the villain. There's a bit, the villain has this thing called the glaive, which is one of the coolest weapons ever. And it's like a 5-point star, shuriken star, with spikes on the end of it. There's all bladed spike things on the end of it. And the main villain can throw it and kind of control it like he's got the Force.
Right.
And there's also swords in it, and when the swords clash, like red electricity goes off them like a lightsaber. And there's the villains in it are called Slayers, and they kind of have a gun, but it's also a sword spear thing. And there's but people can take over bodies and stuff. It's really weird.
It's a mad film.
I have to ask, Ben, where do you think you're getting the budget from this for a TV show?
I would.
You just keep the same 80s effects.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be high concept, but in this weird kind of really weird. It's because the film's so weird. You can throw in loads of ideas for your show, like, oh yeah, horses are on fire. All right, we'll do something else with like a cow or something, or a donkey. You know, do something like that. But like, I would have the son of the king, King Colwyn from the film, the actor. I would have him like be captured or something, and the son has to try and save his father. And he then unites the galaxy in the process, and he finds the glaive again. Like maybe the glaive can call to him, because at the end of Krull, the glaive disappears with the beast's ship. So the son could go find the wreckage of the beast's ship, and he finds the glaive again, and he has to have Ergo the Magnificent from the film come with him, and all this stuff. It's high concept, high fantasy stuff. But the important thing is, like Game of Thrones, it's way too serious. It's way too like bogged down in. Krull's quite silly and swashbuckling. You know, we need that.
Yeah.
Like Indiana Jones has that sense of adventure, sense of fun. Like I think Back to the Future's fun. Like Krull's like fun and like high trumpets in the score and stuff. That's like gone from modern fantasy now. Like Star Wars and Game of Thrones. It's all so serious. I'd have more fun back into the show.
You don't need to be as gritty with it.
No, you really don't.
Just have it as like bright, campy sort of.
Yeah, it's a fun, thrilling adventure of.
Yeah.
Thwarting the evil and uniting the galaxy with my cool glaive weapon and with my horse on fire. It's so cool.
I mean, if Ben hasn't already sold you on this film, I can sell you guys on this film with one more sentence. Liam Neeson with a bowl cut.
Oh, gone. Let's go.
And Robbie Coltrane's in it as well.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think Ray Stevenson's in it. Is he in it? Yeah, Robbie Coltrane's dubbed over in it as well because he wasn't like known enough. Yeah, Liam Neeson.
Really?
Yeah, because I thought I won't say spoilers, but for spoilers, Liam Neeson cannot return, sadly. But I thought, I could bring Liam Neeson back. No, I can't bring Liam Neeson back.
No spoilers. But you just spoiled the fact.
Well, I wonder if like
dead. He died.
He did. Oh, don't know. I'd say that.
Well, yeah.
I'd say that.
Not watching it now.
I wonder. Maybe it's worth doing a
dies.
retrospective on Krull. Or a Dinosaur Trash. No one's gonna watch it.
I remember like because I have the posters downstairs. Like I have a scratch off horror one and a scratch off cult one, and I was looking down the cult one and then looking up any of the films that I hadn't heard of before, and Krull was one of them. And I was like, I've never heard of this film. Looked it up and was like, oh, this seems like weird and campy. I'll put off watching this. And then one day, round my parents' house, the Sci-Fi Channel was on, and we all sat and ended up watching Krull because it was on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
It's great fun.
It's so really fun. Yeah, it's so bizarre and campy and over the top.
Yeah.
I will ask you though, Ben. I'll ask you the same question I asked Kristian beforehand. What warrants Krull getting a spin-off TV show instead of just a straight sequel?
Well, my show would be a sequel. It's a sequel show. And the world's so expansive, and the premise of uniting the galaxy.
But I mean, why do a show instead of just a film?
Krull's not going to get a film. It's Krull. It's not going to get a budget for a film. Like if have like a Netflix show, like The Witcher,
right,
like He-Man's coming back. That's high fantasy, and The Witcher's back. So.
I think you're pushing it with a Netflix show. It'd be on like Stars or Sci-Fi or FX or one of them.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like that.
Go to YouTube.
I can't get $200 million from Warner Brothers to do a film, James. Jesus. Also, Ergo the Magnificent, I think, is a bit like Rob Brydon, which I think is quite funny. Watching the film, I was like, looks like Rob Brydon. It's just a side thing, but yeah, it's very like the idea of having like a Cyclops and maybe like what is it, Minotaur, the guys that have a half horse. Yeah. Like you could do like high fantasy stuff. Centaur, that's it. Like you could do more high fantasy stuff like that. Krull, the Cyclops in Krull is so good as well. He's the best. And Krull, the wizard's got horrible. When they're taken over, they've got horrible nails. These disgusting long nails, and it's just like, Krull's great. I think.
I just loved. My favorite thing about Krull was how many times it did that picture-over-picture thing that fantasy films did in the 80s, where you could see like a pair of eyes over the top of the image. It's so good. It's like it's massively cheesy, but like the best kind of cheesy, where you could just sit back and enjoy it.
We'll wrap up, but look.
I was going to say it sounds like we're not going to do better than Krull, so let's just let's call it a day.
I was going to say I think this is. The high.
We've peaked.
Yeah, it's something me and my dad have privately sat down and gone, what would we do for Krull? We'd do Krull, like what would we do? So shout out to him. be great.
Cut that.
Very
No, I'm
sweet.
kidding.
We can't cut that. He gave a shout out to our biggest fan.
That's true. No.
Hey.
But yeah, so that has been our discussion about spin-offs and sort of TV show sequels and prequels, and
Let's hope that WandaVision is joins this list of our favourite spin-off TV shows.
We hope so. Hopefully we'll get a video out soon talking about it. Hopefully the first episodes will be good, interesting. I don't know. We'll see how they go.
Yeah,
2 episodes in one, isn't it?
Yes.
This Friday, is it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
this
That's
Friday.
the job.
15th. Yep.
So hopefully we'll get a video out soon. Be quite good. Hopefully.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Give you our first impressions. So yeah, let's hope that WandaVision's good. Thank you for joining us on another.
What were some of your favourite spin-off shows? Film. Let us know.
Let us know down in the comments, and thank you for joining us once again. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Give us a few more ideas of what you would like us to talk about on the podcast. Please give us ideas, please.
I'll talk about Crawl a bit more next episode, guys. Don't worry about it. I've got lots to say
never
about
mind.
Crawl.
You know what? We've got the next episode. It's the Crawl special.
We'll just release an unedited Zoom call of just Ben talking about
just Ben on his
Crawl
own,
to himself.
I talk about
No
Crawl.
edit, no cuts. Just talk about Crawl to yourself.
I'll just be sat there like, and another thing. I'll just talk about, just mess
300k views.
Yeah.
Here we come.
Once again,
great.
thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the support, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
See you. Take care, everyone. Bye. Bye.